call to order at 9:31. Now let's see, who's here? Chuck Green is here twice. Very. Hello, Stephanie. We're waiting for Randy to log on.
Correct.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we'll come back to the roll call in a minute.
Oh, Stephanie says she's having problems with audio.
Oh. I hope you can hear us. And Stephanie, raise your hand if you can hear us. Or say something.
If possible, you can type in chat as well.
Yeah. Good thought. All right, well. I guess we have to have the members here to review and approve previous minutes.
I make a motion. I'm just talking with her. I want to make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
Okay, I guess you move, I second, and we've got a quorum.
So I'll say all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
She says, I can't hear anything, but I think it's on my end.
Why don't you turn on your speaker?
So that it feeds back crazily?
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Sorry.
All right, let's do that just to check. So I'm gonna turn on my speaker. Blah, 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 and I'm muted here too. So it's coming in through the.
Okay. All right. There we go.
There,
All right.
muted again.
Chat.
Yeah, it's definitely on her own.
Yeah. That's what I was just checking on. Okay. So, I guess when Randy comes in, we'll make sure he's there. Well, we'll just start off with public comment. No discussion or comments will be entertained unless requested upon by the chair of the board. Speaking time is 3 minutes for each person. Member of the public must state their name and address precinct. So, new business, I guess, right there.
Oh, so, yeah, I guess should we open and close public comment? I move we open public comment.
Okay. Second, all in favor? Aye.
Seeing as there's no one, I move we close public comment.
Okay. Yeah. So moved. Second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see, new business, Greenfield clerk's appearance, open meeting.
Is it okay to stay here or should I?
Wherever you're most comfortable.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because the only attendee is Stephanie and she can't hear it on her end yet because of her own computer.
But, yeah, but it's being recorded, so.
I'll just,
It is being recorded, right? So,
Yeah. I'll just sit here
Great.
anyway, so you don't have problem hearing me. So I didn't prepare anything. Do you have questions? Open meeting law is pretty vast, so.
Well, the educational materials and law, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I have some questions, but I'll.
I mean, open meeting law in general is just it's parameters for Massachusetts boards, committees and commissions.
Yep.
To make sure that we all meet the minimum requirements of posting meetings, information on agendas, so that we're all in compliance, so that the public can have information on what will be, oh, Randy just joined.
Howdy, Randy.
So the public can tell what the Board of Assessors will be dealing with at their next meeting and other boards, committees and commissions.
But in addition to that, they want to make sure that the process of making decisions is transparent.
That's part of it, yeah.
But the question I have is that whenever we get together as a group, it's not necessarily a meeting. And the reason, or I guess I ought to ask that as a question, is it a meeting? Like, us sitting here in this context is a meeting. because
Absolutely.
When I was folding envelopes with him in the office,
Mhm.
Randy was in the other office.
Mhm.
At a meeting?
So he's not a member of the board.
Well, but Randy is, and we had a quorum.
Okay.
So was that a meeting?
So open meeting law allows for provisions for social events, provided that you and a quorum of your committee do not discuss business. So if you were all at a wedding, or if you all decide to go bowling, as long as you don't discuss business, then that's not a quorum. It's difficult when you have a 3-member board
Mhm.
to not constitute a quorum because it only takes 2 of you.
Yep.
And if there's 2 of you and you're discussing business and how that business should be conducted, or an outcome that you would like to see that's in the purview of the Board of Assessors, that's a quorum. And I'm just acknowledging, it is very difficult with a 3-member board.
Well, as I went through this because many times our meetings are exchanges of information
Mhm,
with no opinions
mhm.
stated. And is it correct that under those circumstances, those are not considered deliberations? But deliberations, when you're discussing with expressing an opinion or driving for an outcome,
Mhm.
that's a deliberation, and that's specifically prohibited
Mhm.
except in an open meeting context. I just want to make sure that my interpretation is correct.
Even if you're not expressing an opinion, if the topic is under the purview of the Board of Assessors and you're exchanging information that may, I've lost the word, that may influence another member's vote. So if you're providing information that would possibly sway another member to vote a different way, that can also be considered deliberations, even if you're not actively pursuing their opinion.
Well, let me give you an example. Sometime back, we were talking about pilots.
Mhm.
And one of the questions was, well, how much exempt property do we have? How much do they pay, or how much are they getting off of?
Mhm.
And is it worth pursuing pilots? Well, somebody had to develop the information. I developed the information. I passed it along. I said, these are the people, this is the amount, period.
Mhm.
Is that a deliberation?
Who did you pass it along to?
My board members.
Okay,
Randy.
so passed it along in a quorum.
But there was no public meeting. It was for information so we can discuss at a future meeting, which will
Right.
be posted.
Right.
So I mean, that's the sort of preparation that you need in order to have a productive meeting.
It is. And I understand that, but you have a 3-member board. 2 people constitute a quorum. I understand what you're asking. I think you want me to say that that's okay.
No, I don't want you to say.
But what I'm saying is in my opinion, you're communicating with a quorum of the board
Correct.
about a topic that the Board of Assessors has the authority to set parameters.
But
So the pilot program is part of something that you guys could discuss and recommend, and so that's under your purview.
right, understood.
And you're communicating with a quorum
Yes.
of your board under a topic that's under your purview. To me, that because you're communicating with a quorum, that could be considered an open meeting law violation.
I understand your
Yeah.
position and I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Would a better way to handle that be if Jim sent a note to us saying, I have developed this information, it'll come out in the materials prior to next meeting?
It'll come out in the agenda, it'll be in the packet. Yes.
So you could say that and just don't send it to us, just give it to Adam and then Adam can send it out.
Okay, I can do that. And what will happen, thinking ahead is nobody's prepared to discuss the topic because they haven't seen any information.
Well, but if Adam sends it out with alacrity, like if you send a note and then Adam gets it out later in the day and also, of course, post it at that time publicly, then it will still be fresh in our mind because you just sent the note. Or if you sent it to Adam first and then Adam sends back, hey, I posted this, and then you could send a note, hey, guys, check out the posting, I sent this out.
Do you have so when Adam posts a meeting, there's a minimum of 48 hours
Yeah,
in between the posting and the meeting.
yeah.
So a minimum, because we all know sometimes it's more. You all get the information at the same time. You all have the same amount of time to review, read, formulate questions. You don't open the packet when you get to the meeting, so you have time to prepare yourself.
So any information, any detailed data,
Mhm.
any, including stuff that may be proprietary, that may be individual property specific.
So that's executive session. And
I think that's exempt from open meeting law. It's executive session. So if it's proprietary information, if it's confidential information, you can't put that out there.
Yep. But in terms of aggregating information from our database, which we would find useful for coming up with a policy decision, that would be there. That would need to be publicly disclosed. Any analysis we do, anything we do with the data that other people are going to be informed about has to be posted.
If it's public, yes.
so again, the way to do it for all of us could be that whenever we want to send an email to each other about something, hey, this info, or hey, I want to talk about this or anything, we only send it to Adam. Adam appends it to whatever he's got posted publicly and shares that with us at the same time. And so it's just like any email we send to each other will then be delayed by whatever Adam's cycle time is. And then what can happen is for each meeting, there will be 78 pages of email trail that is gradually building up over the 2 weeks before the meeting as we talk to each other. I mean, we live in an electronic world. That's not, all that does is drain Adam's time, but other than that, right?
What if we had a Google Drive? Could we say,
Yeah.
this is something, we're
Put
not
it up on
passing around
Drive.
an email, but we're saying, hey, it's available on our location. So if we had some material that we wanted to look at prior to the meeting, we wouldn't be passing it around publicly in an email to each other where there's a quorum, but we could tell each other, hey, you can go to this location and look at the material.
Well, and that location could be it could be a public Google document that's linked to in the minutes. And we could also have a private one for our exact stuff, or we could email the private stuff, but
Yeah, I'm talking private right now.
the private stuff, we can just email around because it's confidential anyway.
And there's also a method in Google, in Gmail, that you can send a confidential email with attachments, excuse me, that again will be sent confidential. Whoever sends it, the document and the language in there would be confidential. And the receivers would not be able to print or forward or anything like that. I think a Google Drive, Google Drive, would be a great way to share documents. What you want to be careful of is not communicating through the track changes on what your proposal would be.
The deliberating.
Right.
Right.
We can share info in a shared document.
And you can read it
but not
and you can
deliberate.
see it. Right. You just don't want to deliberate until you're at a meeting.
Yeah, and that was my point, that to share this information, and it's fine. All I care about is the folks on the board, or including Adam,
Mhm.
have the ability to see the stuff. I don't care about them printing it or forwarding it or any of that.
Mhm.
So that's just fine. But that goes back to what I was asking before, and that is, when you provide this information, under any circumstances, it goes out to individuals. Even though it can't be passed along, it sounds like it's still a violation of the open meeting law.
Yeah,
And if we're gonna have a Google Drive that's available, well, it seems to me then that the whole database that we have of all the properties, all the characteristics, everything is public.
It is public.
it is.
Well, not all the
So-
characteristics, but the fiscal year values.
I understand that, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. If somebody wants to go in, they want to take a look at their calc ladder, they can see that on the, on the property record card. But the problem is, a lot of people are not satisfied with that, and they want to go into room count and the house count and all this other stuff, which they can do manually by accessing the property record cards if they knew what they were looking for. And it'd be far easier to say, oh, okay, here's a monster spreadsheet, have at it. That's public record, isn't it? It was paid for by, I'm pushing the envelope on purpose,
Mhm.
because I think it's important to be able to pass information along, no comments, just to say, it's for your consideration for the next meeting. It winds up being on an agenda. And the information is disclosed when the agenda is posted, and that's just fine. But there's a lot of stuff that happens before that.
So it sounds like you're talking about two different things. You're talking about what I would classify as a public records request by anyone for any reason, for any information.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's one,
all right.
that's what, again, it,
No, no,
maybe I'm making
with you.
assumptions, but that's one thing that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And public records are available to anyone at any time through our next request system, or they can come into the office. They can make a request, it will be input and it will be provided to them within 10 business days as required by law. And then you're talking about communication, deliberation, access to information by the board, which are two different things.
Okay. And this is all hypothetical. I mean, we did have a person who wanted access to our database.
Mhm.
And I don't think she wanted access to the system. She just wanted access to the data.
Mhm.
Well, she could have put in a public request for an image of the database in Excel form or whatever it was.
In the form that we receive it in, because if you put it in a different form, that's creating a record and that's not required by public records. So if we can access the data and we can extract the data in a text form or an Excel form or a PDF form, then that's how you would get the data. Whatever form you can get it in, that's what we provide it in. Even if the extraction doesn't extract the data from the system, which is very clear in the system,
Mhm.
if you extract the data and the data comes out jumbled,
Yeah,
which it does,
sometimes.
that's the form they get it in. It's not up to us to extract the data, put it all nice and neat so that you can read it. You know,
But then that defeats the whole purpose. If it's a public records request, presumably the public record that is being requested has got to be intelligible.
and it may be more intelligible if you extract the data and it comes out as a PDF. But then people will come back to you and say, I don't want it as a PDF. I want it as a this,
I understand.
whatever this is. So all of those things take our time and frankly takes quite a bit of time.
No, I understand.
And you can't always satisfy everyone. Sometimes we understand what you're saying, but this is the form the data comes in.
But the form, the data output form,
Mhm.
I think is under our control. Randy, in Patriot, do we have the option of printing, I guess, outputting to PDF or Excel or CSV? Is that an option that we have?
Yes.
So,
May I ask a question of Randy?
no,
So does the data on all of those forms, text, CSV, PDF, come out looking the same? Is it understandable, legible to a resident?
Not necessarily, and it's, in some cases, it will retain the formatting options that, you know, from the system that it was extracted in. It's not just all a perfect column and row situation.
So,
Nor is anyone else exposing their data to the general public in that manner.
yeah.
but just one thing. If I understand if it's unintelligible in one format,
Mhm.
will it be equally unintelligible across all formats? If it's identical
Mhm.
across all formats,
Mhm.
it's just a matter of whether it's on a spreadsheet or in a PDF or whatever, but it's equally unintelligible, then that's fine. But we have the ability to pump things out so that at least they line up in columns.
So in working with different departments, because we all have different programs,
That,
they're all different ages. They're all different.
Yeah,
They're just different. Not just because we think it should come out the same
Mhm.
doesn't mean it does.
Okay.
And that's the difficulty that we run into when we're trying to provide information to the public.
right.
I can't explain to you why, if you extract it in text, it comes out this way. And if you extract it in PDF, it comes out this way. I can't explain that to you. I can just tell you that. I don't have access and sometimes time to be able to give it to you how you want it.
I understand that. And we deliver whatever the systems can
Mhm,
conveniently.
mhm. And we do the same.
And I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
If it's unintelligible across all formats, then it really doesn't matter. However, many times it's more intelligible in one format than the other.
Mhm.
And hypothetically, in theory, somebody who really wanted to fog things up would give the least intelligible format, would present the least intelligible format to the public, as opposed to one that might be a little more convenient. Again, not custom tailored to what the public wanted,
Mhm,
the public requester wanted.
mhm, mhm,
But, here's our request that happens to be in Arabic,
mhm.
okay?
Um,
We complied, we did it. Oh, could we have converted it into English? Yeah, of course we
What is
could
the
have, but we
point of
didn't.
this?
The point I'm trying to make is how much information can we share internally on the way to a deliberation without violating open meeting law? And then if all the information in our database was paid for by public funds, and therefore I think is in the public domain, but it's not. I mean, we don't give people free range access to all of the data in our database. We generate reports, and the reports can go out in different formats. And some formats are easier to deal with than others. See, all I'm
What's the
trying,
point?
the point is, I'm trying not to, we don't want to come in conflict with the open meeting law. And when we provide information that winds up being part of the agenda, that's just fine. That's public. But what happens in a public records request when they are asking for a lot of our data, some of which we may wind up using for our own internal purposes? So I just don't know where you draw the line. And you're right, Kathy. The difference between a public records request versus information we need to do our business
mhm.
are two different things. And maybe I'm focusing more on the public records request side
Mhm.
than I am on the internal business, because I think we've taken care of that.
So I think we're going outside of the scope of what's posted on the agenda today.
Okay,
We can continue, this is my opinion. You're the board, I'm attending your meeting, you're the authority. We don't have public records listed on the agenda to discuss today.
okay, then I'll stop.
And I can be happy to come back next meeting.
Yep.
We can talk public records, that's vast also.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay. Well, then let me summarize what I think I've taken away from this. Is we'll have a Google Drive that we can point to, which will contain information that we'll use for our deliberations, let's say. The notification of that, it can't be passed along, it can't be reprinted. The information that appears on the drive can't be downloaded, it can't be printed, it can't be anything other than viewed. by the members of the board. And that's as far as we can go in terms of passing information around. And then when it's time to use that information to deliberate, then that's when it gets posted and it's, sort of part of the documentation package.
Okay.
Is that, and then we stay in compliance. Is that correct? Under those circumstances?
It sounds correct. Just because the information is on the shared drive doesn't mean it can't be shared with the public.
No.
It just, right, it's a public document unless the document or the information in it is restricted by
Okay,
some sort of mass general law or exemption or something like that.
okay. All right, well, I think that takes care of the open meeting law part.
Okay,
But, our public records requests for information from our database is a much broader topic that needs, I think.
and again, I'm fine with coming back at the next meeting to discuss public records requests in general.
Okay.
If you would like that.
Okay, well, I think we ought to talk about it and Randy ought to have an opinion about that too, because,
Public records?
yeah.
So I can put it on, I can put you guys on my calendar if you want.
Why don't you, it is not an urgent issue and it's one that I think we ought to discuss. And then,
You let me know when you want me to come.
thank you,
There
Kathy.
you go. There was a second item on the agenda. Business certificates.
Yeah, I had a question about
Mhm.
certificates.
Mhm.
It appears as if they're not required to do business in the state.
So Mass General Law does require businesses that are operating under something other than the owner's name.
Right.
Oh, doing business as.
Right. So if I was running a business, Kathy Scott's Ice Cream Scoop, free ice cream on Thursdays.
Right.
Mass General Law.
Tuesday, can you hold that?
Yeah, no, so. So I would not be required by Mass General Law to get a business certificate. Because even though Kathy Scott is a very common name, believe me, there's a couple of at my doctor's offices. I'm running a business in my name.
Right.
However, the banks around here won't open a business checking for me unless I show them a business certificate. So a lot of times people do get business certificates for businesses run in their name to satisfy the bank. What I think you have talked about before is, does the city clerk's office pursue businesses, business certificates
Yes.
from people who do not have one? And that answer has always been, no, we don't. And I believe through conversations with you and others that you would like us to do that.
No, what I would like people to do is to comply with the law that says you have to have one.
Okay.
And I don't know the best means for doing that. And
Mhm.
this is all related to our form of list, where we missed so many companies that we didn't know of. And, I don't think we've finished up the exercise in taking the companies we have and comparing them against the DBAs
Mm-hmm,
that you have,
mm-hmm,
and then seeing what the differences are.
mm-hmm,
Because, frankly, I don't know whether it's a big problem or a small problem.
mm-hmm,
I mean, I know it's not a negligible, it's not a 5% problem,
mm-hmm,
but is it a 30, 40, 50% problem?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know that. But I do know by not having the names of these businesses that are operating under names other than the person who owns it, that we are missing opportunities to capture that personal property information.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that some of it, we're not going to capture because they're under $10,000, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's the ones who, out of ignorance or, some other reason, just don't file.
Right. And I agree with you that there are plenty of businesses out there
Yeah.
that do not have business certificates. I choose to think that it is just that. It's ignorance. They don't know. They maybe have been around for a very long time. And years ago, when they got their business checking, it wasn't required by the bank. Or they just don't know. And that's fine. By law, yes, they're supposed to have one, but we don't pursue them.
I understand, but
Mhm.
as they say, ignorance is no excuse for the law. And you're right, we don't have to pursue them.
Mhm.
And in fact, we don't, but I think we ought to figure out a way to make it more visible that these are the things that are required to do business in the city of.
Mhm. And I was under the impression that you had an idea or a proposal how to go about getting them to be knowledged or to be in compliance.
In terms of the knowledge, I think all you can do is broadcast that. And that's why I think, we have been doing a lot of news releases, public information, things
Mhm.
like that. And that at least is the starting point. I also, I don't know what else to do beyond that.
Mhm.
Because you're right, your time is more valuable than chasing down businesses, but it just personally bugs me when people don't play by the rules.
Well, the situation that we got in was, didn't happen overnight.
Oh, no,
Something
I
that was
understand
an
that.
accumulation of many years. And so really it's our responsibility to do that discovery and make sure that we're discovering those businesses, whether they're getting certificates or not, because we're going out and we're aware of what's going on in our town.
Yeah, okay, so all that means is now that we have a somewhat current inventory, although we don't know what the relationship is to what we have versus what the clerk's office has, then it's up to us every year to sort of recycle, go back through that whole exercise to capture businesses that have gone out of business and businesses that have just started. I don't understand how we're going to do that, though, frankly.
So we have a very old system. And if I said to you it was more like a DOS system
Mhm.
or a Firefox,
Mhm.
it's a Firefox system. That's how old this thing is,
That's a graph
before DOS.
up before, you mean
I-
CPM?
I have no idea.
Okay,
But-
Sure it's not Fox Pro?
Sorry, you're right, Fox Pro.
okay.
Fox Pro.
I actually became proficient in that at the time. I don't think I can remember anything other than. the
Well,
name.
that's the system that our business certificates are in.
It was a good database.
So, so we have that and I'd have to play around a little bit. The only ability I have is to print you the assessors, a list of the businesses that we have in the system. But also the assessor's office has access to a shared Google Drive that goes back several years, and I apologize, Adam, I don't know if you're on it or not, so you may not have access yet. Let me just make a note. That has business certificates. So they're only good for 4 years. So you really only have to look back 4 years. Other than that, they may have just closed and,
Understood.
and expired. So this is it's a manual, time-consuming thing. So you could look back in the shared Google Drive under business certificates to see the last 4 years' business certificates.
And print them out?
I believe so, because it's simply a scan of the certificate that was received and processed in the clerk's office. Also, in this database that we have, I could print out a list of the business certificates in the system, whether they're current or expired or discontinued. But I can't download the information. I can't electronically provide it because of the constraints of the system.
But you can print it.
I can print it.
Okay.
I have to play a little bit about it, and there's different ways, so I could print it. Again, I haven't been in there in a while. I could print it by name. I could print it by address. I think there's one other option. I just don't happen to remember it.
All right, yeah, because if you can print the PDF. And PDF then.
So I don't even get a PDF. It's just a print. I hit the button and it goes to the printer.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a different. Okay, but it's nice to know that we have that
Yeah.
data so that, and I think we're going to need it in order to stay current.
Again, I can take a look so that when you come to me and say, this is what we
Okay,
would like and how we would like it, I can take a look to see how we can provide it. That way I've refreshed my memory.
okay.
Haven't done it in a while.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And we'll get back to you about records requests, public records.
Okay.
Requests.
Let me know. Just give me hopefully a week or so,
Oh, sure.
because either Quinn or I could
Okay,
talk about it. Quinn just happens not to be in today, so
okay.
you get me.
Well, we are very lucky.
All set?
All set.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time,
No problem.
Kathy.
No problem.
Okay,
Have a good one.
okay,
Oh, you're
thanks.
slow.
Open, please.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for your forbearance, Stephanie, Randy. Okay, so we're on to excise week. We've got
Motor vehicle for you guys first.
vehicle, okay,
What are you handing them?
All the exercises that we qualified that need to be approved or denied.
these are the motor vehicle
Yeah,
excise.
motor
We
vehicle
don't,
first.
we don't give them the actual applications. We'll print out a report that will have the summary of them on it.
Yeah. Is
And then we
there a
sign
summary?
once.
Let
Oh,
me
like a
see if I
summary?
can do that, and I'll
Gotcha.
try and print it to the printer.
My fault.
Okay. All right, and,
I have individual other exemptions as well to vote on.
yeah, okay,
Oh, individuals?
Correct. This is what's got 22 A's, $400.
Don't we do that in executive session,
Is that executive session ready?
the individuals?
yeah, I
We
think,
do.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
so
the
we'll do that, yeah.
individuals.
Okay, so we do that.
Including the
right?
seniors, yeah.
I will note how to actually go
Okay,
about motor vehicle abatement stuff.
but
thank you.
the excise stuff is in the public session.
Okay, the exercise is in the public session. Gotcha. It just needs to be formatted differently. I'll note that for next time.
Ways and means, maximum allowable exemption, update on the status of appearing. Do we have an update on when we're going to appear?
We do. I emailed who puts people on the Ways and Means variance, so they let us know. Here's their email. It can't go on agenda this month, meaning January. It will be addressed at the committee chairs meeting next month and more than likely placed on the Ways and Means agenda for February. So it'll be on at some point in February. I just need to coordinate with Tammy, who sets the agenda.
Okay,
Okay, I will look when that is.
You guys are voting, I assume in reference to the Heroes Act? Is that-
It's only part of it.
Okay,
So I went through some even a year ago, I think, and just looked at all of the individual exemptions.
like what you can, the maximum allowable, the statute will allow to.
For each one, I looked to see if we could change the exemption amount, if we could change the qualifications to make it that more people could qualify by age, by income, by assets.
Yeah.
And then for all of the exemptions, I just put together a single document, single page really, of just all the things we were capable of doing without a town vote.
Okay.
All the things the city council could do with just a vote. And that's what we are going to bring to them. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. So for that meeting, I assume what we're gonna need to do is share that with us because we're gonna need to see how much value that could potentially exempt.
Randy already said it was immaterial.
Oh, all right. Never mind then.
Yeah. And I've shared this multiple times with this team.
Coming in late.
Yeah, I can share with you again.
No worries.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to just back up. In the shared drive, if we ever prepare information and we send it to you to mount on the shared drive, that presumably means everybody has access to it. And I'm not sure the board does. But in any event, then it would behoove you to set things up in a way that we can't download it. Would you look into that and figure out what has to be done?
Sure. Would
Thanks.
you like to advise Ways and Means on the other part of the HEROES Act as well? Or is that?
Sure, I don't know anything about the HEROES Act.
City Council adopted the HEROES Act, but there's a separate part of it and it's a percentage modifier. I assume you've read it. So I don't believe that they've actually voted to adopt a percentage, but that's a section of the HEROES Act I believe they've yet to adopt. I assume we can advise them in the same session.
Yeah, I'm just gonna find that thing that I made so that you can,
Is that in it too?
what's that?
Is that in it as well?
I think so.
Okay.
It's really not a big thing. It's like, yeah, it's short, but anyway, going back to the other topic, the committee chairs meeting is on February 4th.
Okay.
And I'm guessing we don't all need to be there for that. The only purpose there is just to say what we just said. We want to talk about this. Can you please put it on your agenda? I'm sure they'll say yes, because we're the board. So actually,
I don't even know if we have to be there.
that's what I'm saying. I don't think any of us have to be there except for maybe Adam or Randy, or just one of us need to be there just to make sure that there's no mix up on what it is.
You mean no misunderstanding
Yeah.
of what we're doing? Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Of what we're requesting. And then the Ways and Means is on February 18th, which I think more of us will want to be at. Like I'm going to put that in my own calendar. I would like to go there if I can.
And I think, going to the committee chairs, I think that, you're the one that put together the information, so maybe you could attend.
All right, let me see if I can. Yeah, I can.
That's the 14th, right?
4th and the 18th.
The 4th.
Okay, so the 4th is the committee chairs. The 18th is the Ways and Means itself.
Yep. Okay. All right. New growth, discussion of taxable status of properties under state class 954. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I generated this information in the past. Randy, do you recall seeing that? Because I don't have my computer with me, but I can send it out. Or I'll send it to Adam, who can put it on the shared drive. Randy, you're on mute.
Yeah, I would, I don't have it readily available. So I'd send it to Adam again.
Okay, all right, I'll take care of that. Yeah, the payment in lieu of taxes, I think that's related to exempt properties as well. What's it?
I'm just giving myself share so I can show you guys
Sure.
the exemption to
Sure,
keep talking.
okay. Yeah, the pilot, I looked into the pilot agreement and then, pilots, the city of Boston has done a series of pilots because they have so many exempt organizations. And in summary, pilots are custom negotiated, they're one-off negotiations, and they're extremely time consuming. And given the value of the exempt properties, it isn't clear to me that it's worth doing pilots, but there may be some other way of encouraging the exempt organizations to contribute some money to the city. And one thing that occurred to me and is probably worth discussing at a different time is that they make contributions into this elderly and disabled fund so that there's actually some cash to deal with. And that would, I think, be consistent with the, the charitable nature of the organizations that are exempt. But that's a thought. We haven't made any decision on that. The Elderly and Disabled Fund Committee hasn't even had a meeting yet, so that's just a thought to stick away in the back of your mind. But the important thing is we'll go back and we'll take a look at how much these exempt properties are being exempted. And we'll talk about whether we want to do any pilots, and maybe we can put that on the next agenda. Okay, and it should be a pretty quick discussion, I think.
Adam, I printed out the excise weeks on the printer, the 1017.
Okay. Thanks, Randy. Okay, abatements.
Hang on, Jim.
Yeah.
Just,
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. And this, we would go in front of Ways and Means with this, and this is really just a,
yeah, I just think, is 22I the HERO Act?
J and I and J, those are the two last components of the Heroes Act.
Yeah. So all I've got here is that we can, from the base HERO Act, we can increase the exemption amount up to cost of living allowance.
There's a separate thing you can also vote for, and it's an additional modifier. It's I and J. DLS has a super easy explanation of it. It's going to be better than I could explain to you now.
Okay.
I can just set that over to you.
I'm sure I already have it, but
yeah, just to be safe, because
But
I'm
the-
not sure.
what I'm saying here is, I think, as you said, they already voted, they want the HERO.
Mhm.
So this is just saying they could vote to increase the amount of the HERO up to cost of living.
This is I, what's J?
22I.
Yeah, but what's 22J?
22J is a 25, 50, 75, and 100% modifier that acts on the Heroes Act. Say you have a bill of $400. It goes up by cost of living as per the Heroes Act. There's an additional thing you can vote in, which increases the exemption amount up to 25, 50, 75, or 100%. So that initial $400, if you adopt 100%, could increase by cost of living as well as 100%. So you now have like an $825 credit as opposed to a $425 credit. That's the maximum allowable under J. You could vote to adopt 25%, 50, but there is a subsection that can be voted on. Doesn't look like they addressed it.
Okay.
Should I put that too?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to look at these other while I'm making that?
Sure. I don't know if I've actually looked into the individual statutes to see what the different things you could vote on is before. So that's awesome that you did that.
Am I getting that right?
Correct, yeah.
Or were there steps specified?
It's a couple steps specified. What I will do is I'll send you the DLS. It's a literal blurb that explains it. And
I have all that stuff. It just,
you're asking for it right now?
well, I'm just saying, I just want to have it already condensed to this one slide that we can give to Ways and Means.
Okay.
If any other material they're not going to look at, we're not going to look at, it's got to be
On a page that you want to give to them? Gotcha.
yes. So I think this summarizes it, because why would we tell them any less than here's the max?
That's not my purview. It's y'all's call.
I'm just saying the purpose of this document is to say the maximums of all of this.
Okay.
So, and it's just for each thing, like 17E, we could increase the whole estate max by COA. We can enter for F, the exemption amount, the hardship, the interest rate, we could lower it. See, for each one of these things, that's what we can do.
Okay.
So,
Right, returning to excise weeks. You've got,
Print out Randy. Here's, I believe before that, you guys need.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. If you need it, here it is. Apparently it doesn't help me.
yeah,
Nope.
Sigh.
who's the second signature?
I don't know.
Oh, Gary.
Oh, throw that away.
Yeah, we need a new one.
It's on my list.
Okay,
All right.
great. Today is the 21st. That. All right. That takes care of the excise week abatements. Date on the status of abatement applications received from the 1st of January through the 20th. Do we have an update?
Yeah, you just gave us a printout at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Good. That's
Small.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, just going back to the individual exemptions, when's the deadline for the city council to vote? So that it goes in for fiscal year 2026?
I don't know.
Randy?
I assume it needs to get adopted before the preliminary bills, so that'd be my guess.
What was the question again?
If we get city council to vote for the increases in the exemptions, what's the deadline? So it'll impact fiscal year 26?
It's just got to be prior to fiscal 26.
Okay, so before July 1st?
Yes.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, this list is just a record. It is not a record of what we've done, right?
No.
The meeting date and the action is. So when we need to act on these by when?
You have 3 months from the date that they received in order to take action.
Okay. Great. Okay. And the solar farm tax agreements, discussion about current solar tax agreements with the city, specifically city-owned parcels being leased by solar companies. Randy, do you have comments on that?
Yeah, I'm the one that put this on the agenda.
Okay,
We got a solar agreement that we have authorized Harold from RG to be the authorized agent. He has been negotiating. We're very close to having an agreement in place. And I've seen the most recent, contract and just updated it for some content last week. So hopefully we'll have that one going. And then the other one is the ongoing one that we've had for the longest time, where we're getting the free power for 3 of our buildings, but it was the first agreement in the state for solar, and it's not compliant, and we have accumulating tax bills that aren't getting paid, and we're trying to deal with that. So I'm just wanted to put that out there again. I'm sure I must have mentioned it at some other point in our meetings since I've been here, but it's something that's still going on. And I just wanted to bring it up again because I'm talking with Stephen Nemberkow, the director of finance, about it and trying to get the ball rolling on dealing with it again. So 2 significant solar things happening. One, the previous agreement that really needs to be renegotiated. When Dee was here, we had a meeting, our former director of finance, with Kenneth Woodland from the DOR and Harold from RRG. And I recorded that, and now I've disseminated that or sent it around to the town attorney, and we're trying to get the ball rolling on it again.
who do we have the contract with?
It's a solar company. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, and they're providing us with free power and we're not taxing them. Is
Right.
that,
It's
okay.
something like that. Yeah. It's just an
Okay.
agreement that was set up the wrong way that needs to be rectified. And the people here didn't understand enough about how to do it correctly, and they set up a tax bill that's not getting paid. And so that's going to hit our overlay, and it's about $350,000 now.
Wow.
And that's not
Wow.
including interest, because it's been going
Hmm.
on since 17.
Oh, God.
Wow,
I'm glad you're on top of that one, Randy. Thank you.
yeah.
Well, I'm not. And I'm trying to get other people involved because it's something that's kind of beyond my level.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you are, because you found it and raised it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to be part of it, but I'm not the end all be all. And with all the staff turnover, it's just something that keeps getting kicked down the road and it's hurting us. So it's
Yep.
got to get resolved.
Okay, and so has Steve taken responsibility for that?
I wouldn't say he's taking responsibility, but I'm just trying to bring it up and
Yeah.
bring it to
Yeah.
everyone's attention so that someone does take responsibility for it.
Okay. And it sounds like Steve would be the right guy because of the financial implications. Is that correct? You
Yes.
think? Okay. By the way, I've never met Steve. Have you?
I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
And-
I ran into him.
Okay.
It was maybe before one of these meetings.
Okay, yeah, I haven't, I couldn't pick him out of a crowd and I'm not even sure I could remember his last name, so,
Me neither.
yeah. Can we arrange a time to just say hello to him and meet him, and so he knows the board as well?
We'll
What do you
try and
think of
get him to
that?
come to the next meeting.
Hey,
Yeah.
great
Just to
idea.
drop in.
That'd be good. And then we can talk about the solar issue.
Lean on him.
No, I wouldn't say lean on it.
Yeah.
Okay, and by the way, the clock here doesn't work. It's 10:35 roughly.
Okay,
And I think you can probably see that
somewhere.
somewhere on your computer. But calendar timeline, update on abatement app due dates as well as extension of due dates for personal property.
Yes, so the personal property bills, because they were billed after December 31st.
Yeah.
Instead of having two due dates, February and then May.
Yeah.
By statute, the February due date goes away. And then now it becomes one May due date. So they can abate, if they can file for an abatement traditionally by February 1st, now by May 1st. Same thing with the payment. And then I already talked to the new finance director, Stephen, to let him know that Q3, that cash flow is going to have to be taken into the Q4 because there's no guarantee that this personal property money is going to be in by Q3. And he's aware of that. He's adjusted.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's great. Assessor office operations, update on form of list mailings, planned communications between assessing department taxpayers affected by exemptions not appearing on their third quarter bill.
Working on it. Yeah, that's all I've
Alright.
been working on really, is trying to straighten out the bills.
Okay,
With our inexperienced staff and other departments, they just,
got it.
the job's not getting done. The consultant that we are using collectors wise is just, I mean, he's getting some stuff done, but there's a lot he's not. And I feel like it's all falling on me. And I'm doing the best I can to keep it straightened out. I mean, even the bills not going out and everything, it was just, I'm not happy with the performance that we've gotten or the state of the collector's office. But I'm doing my best, and yes, so exemptions went out, they were wrong. And some of them, some went and were fine and some were wrong, so I'm still in the process of fixing those. I had to make sure that the personal property bills got out in the meantime. Adam and I are doing what we can to keep other things going along, and you even helped us with the personal property form of list. We're trying to keep deeds and other information current as best we can. David was in and working on the mapping, so the plans from last year, any splits and merges we're working on. It was David's last day. He's on he is retired again, or it could potentially be just a temporary leave of absence, but he is not going to be with RRG for a while his wife is going through some difficult times, and
Yep.
hopefully we'll get him back. But in the meantime, we should be having Harold come in and kind of fill that role. We're doing what we can to continue on with our goals for the office
Mhm.
and taking over. We got to start talking about budget
Yep.
and taking over the field work from RRG. So I'll be talking to Harold about what the contract's going to look like for fiscal 26.
Mhm.
And yeah, still trying to get those bills straightened out. So I was able to, Munis, our billing system, not a fan. It's just, it was fine before. Now they've given us some other version and it's broken. And they don't want to figure out, even their support people, I don't think can figure out what's wrong, but they just know how the Band-Aids. And so that's left me doing a bunch of manual adjustments that I really shouldn't have to do. And
Wow.
that's another thing that's slowing me down. So, we had 195 exemptions that went in, and 82 of them didn't go in correctly. Or I think actually I narrowed it down. It wasn't as many. It's in the 60s, but still way too many manual adjustments to have to make it should work. And it's not. So I'm not encouraged about our next round of billing because nobody learned anything on this, this time through. And yeah, just discouraged overall about
Mm.
the status of the collector's office and the finance team here in the city of Greenfield. Doing my best to hang in there and get things done, but it's been quite a challenge, and it's not.
Yeah. Is this a training issue in terms of the collector's office?
They don't have the new collector yet, do they?
Yeah, well, they do, but she's totally green and has no experience whatsoever. And that's my problem, is that during this whole process, the consultant did everything. So she didn't learn anything. Same with our accountant. When we went through classification, the consultant did it all. I'm not sure how much Catherine learned. And there's another reason why I'm discouraged, because where are they going to be next year? They're going to be totally green and not know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There are some things that are out of our control.
That the Munis system, is that something every city uses? Or is that something that,
every city uses a billing system. Munis was a state-provided billing system that they stopped supporting, and then so many towns and cities hung on and didn't want to give it up because they knew how it worked,
yeah,
that they finally ended up packaging it and selling it to the highest bidder. And Tyler Tech is the one that ended up getting the bid. So Munis is still calling it Munis, but it's really some new system that some place that got the bid is, applied some accounting program to that doesn't really fit well with our environment, and we're stuck with it.
wow, okay,
Way too many clicks.
got it.
Bring that up to Stephen when he attends our meeting next time.
Okay, can we put that on the agenda? Okay, I'm sorry, you were talking about personal property before. You're dissatisfied with, what is it, RCC or RRC, which is that the organization that you said you had some qualms about?
No, RRC is who's doing our personal property and just did the inventory.
Okay,
RRG was doing our personal property before, and you saw the shape of it, and that's why I want to carry on with this RRC as opposed to the way that we had things, because I think they're a better outfit,
okay,
and that they're going to do a better job of discovery.
Great.
okay,
And that was
but,
what got us in trouble and missing so many businesses.
right, but, and RRG's role, they just didn't do any discovery. Is that correct? But,
Not that I could tell.
yep. Okay, and in terms of entering the data in Patriot,
Yeah, it
or-
wasn't the greatest either on that end. And
I'm-
so
I'm
that's
sorry.
another thing I'm stressing with RRC. And then we got to figure out how, I think this year I want them to do everything, but eventually I want to take over doing as much of it on our own as we can.
Mhm.
So if you get another
So-
clerk, which is another thing that's on the table,
Yeah.
we're getting applications. And
Can we
then,
segue to that topic, which is the next topic on the agenda? So you said you've got applications for clerk?
yep, we have been receiving them. There are at least a couple in the last batch that I looked at, and I had gotten back to HR. I'm not sure if anything has been arranged as far as an interview or anything like that, but we had people that had some experience or indicated that they had some experience. And so yeah, just looking to see what's coming through. I want to give it a little while before I start just generally picking people that look like they might have some qualifications just office wise, so that we can take someone that has no qualifications and start training them to be our new qualified personnel. But
Yeah.
trying to keep it open now that we have been advertising on the MAAO website, the Mass Assessors Association website. And that's where we would find more people that have experience looking. And so I wanted to give it a little bit of time, but at the same time, I also want to get the ball rolling as soon as possible and get someone in here so that we can start making progress.
Great.
All right.
On the joint project, there's no substantial update. Susan and I have been tweaking the forms and the flyer. And she's been working with the organizations like Neighbor to Neighbor, and I forget what the other one's called. Basically it's all set. I mean, we're just nipping and tucking. And that data will be collected, as you know, between February and May. And once we get it, it'll be in, fortunately, because we're doing it by Google Forms, whether or not that affects the participation, at least we'll be getting it in a spreadsheet. So it's automatically linked to a spreadsheet, which I have. And I'll be sharing that with Adam when we get it, when it's done. And hopefully that will lead you guys to be able to identify any so far not unknown new growth in the multifamily units. And maybe it will also, the next time you're looking at INEs for multifamilies, that'll give you an opportunity to identify this new growth. And hopefully it'll be a win for us this year, the same way personal property was last year. That's the idea.
Will we be able to cross that with the building certificates?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
we will have people's reported, how many apartments, we'll have Bella's analysis of how many apartments and the addresses of each. And then we'll have, to the extent that they provide the information, we'll have individuals providing us the rent for each of those apartments. And if the rents as provided and as extended to all the apartments, assuming that not everybody reports, but averaged or just give us an indication of what the rents are, then that might show differently than what's reported on INE. And then,
We can go from there.
well, we could contact the landlords and see if we have new growth opportunities
Okay.
by underreported incomes.
Yeah, my reason for asking about the building permits is that would allow us to see what buildings have had any work done on them.
That's unpermitted.
That,
Yeah, well, we
Well,
can,
first, the the permitted stuff will tell us what's been
Yeah.
permitted, and the other will.
but it doesn't matter because our goal is to find new growth.
Right.
So we don't really care if something was unpermitted, because that was just a means for us to identify the new growth. So in the end, we don't care if people are violating every permit or whatever, because in the end, it was just, the only reason we cared about that is that was the way for us to find things that were not reported. But we're going to find them directly with this technique.
Okay.
So we're going to find out what are the apartments and what are the rents. Now, we will, of course, as good citizens, as good municipal people, we will share that information with Mark Snow, and be like, hey, did you know there's 12 apartments in this building? And then Mark can go out and beat them up or whatever is necessary. Maybe he'll get some new growth, some permit fees or whatever, but that's his option. We don't have to do that.
Right.
Just share it with him and he can do what he wants.
Yeah, I think it's the permit fees are nothing compared to the new
Immaterial.
growth.
Yeah, the new growth is what matters. If we find out there's more apartments than what they say, and if we find out that the rents are much higher than what they say, the incomes could be much higher than what they're reporting. And then therefore, if the incomes are much higher, then we could revalue the building, find the new growth.
Okay.
Randy, am I correct in all that?
I don't think it would be new growth.
Didn't we talk about this last meeting and we decided it would?
No, you disagreed with both Randy and my assessment.
Oh, yeah? Okay, well,
I thought new growth was anything that was untaxed in the past.
yeah.
You had,
We're
A
not finding new
building.
square footage. We're finding new units. The square footage is the same.
you found a new unit.
That's true.
You found a new unit.
Yeah.
We
that's
thought
what
it was
we're talking about.
3, and then it turns out there was a 4th unit and
Yeah.
it was something we didn't pick up. If we put something new on the sketch card that increases the value, that's new growth.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
If we just found out that,
But to Randy's point, it wouldn't be any difference in square feet.
Mhm.
The building size hasn't changed. It's just that there would be more units than we thought, and there'd be higher rent than we thought.
higher rent, not new growth, new unit, new growth.
All right, well, maybe you guys can confer.
Yes.
Well, it wouldn't be, the higher rents wouldn't be new growth, but it would be.
It would change the
It
value,
would change the valuation,
which could result in higher
More
taxes.
revenues.
correct, which would
Which is.
be shifting the burden, which would accomplish the goal of, hey, we need to get correct assessments on these places.
But if the new units give us new growth, that would help the mayor to
Yeah.
increase the levy limit.
Yeah, and if we find that there's 3 new units in this building we didn't know about and our sketch is way out of date, that is new growth.
Well, that is what we think is going to happen. That was the tips from the many people, including the mayor and Stephanie. We have many, many tips and from Susan that there are many more units than what we think.
And if that is the case, and we pick it up and add something to the building, yeah, that's new growth.
Yeah, so
Okay,
there you go.
great.
Adam and I have also been having a discussion about doing the cyclical review on our own. So in-house, going out and being the person that has the boots on the ground instead of sending out 1,300 questionnaires and doing it virtually or whatever the case may be. I think that what we've heard in some of these recurring things is that our data isn't as good as it should be because a lot of stuff has happened that might not necessarily have been permitted. And so the key for solving that problem is the cyclical review. Well, how good has it been getting done? And, let's do it ourselves. So we were discussing, like, we have over 3,800 or 3,800 single family homes. That's 380 inspections. How long is that going to take? About,
Well-
what was it, 28 work days, Adam, we figured, or something like that?
A 1 working month is what we figured for a full cyclical review if we just did just that. Yeah.
Can I assume that at least that would be partially supported by getting the new clerk on board,
Right. We wouldn't be able to do it without more staff.
right? So let's focus on getting that new clerk on board so that you guys can do your job and so that we can get more cash.
Well, it's budget time and the adjustment to the budget for RRG is also gonna hopefully, I want to start talking more staff. So,
Yeah.
we're trying to get one other person. I think that we're gonna need someone else beyond that also. Even if it's
Right.
only a part-time person. It's something I wanted to discuss and possibly have the funds ready so that we can hit the ground running with the new fiscal year and get another person for the department.
Well, we should, Stephen and Ginny and Aaron, they should be very happy to listen to us because of our success last year. We asked for money last year and then we came through with multiple on it. And the same thing here, you give us another staffer, a part-timer beyond the clerk, and you guys will be hitting the bricks and bringing in the money. So It's a really good argument. I don't expect any pushback from them. It seems like,
Well, even if we're just able to do the job better. You
yeah,
know, it's really kind of the ultimate goal, or, you know, it'd be great to see new growth and have good things happen, but it's adequately staffing this department and making sure that we're successfully completing all the tasks of the department.
Does the MAAO have a periodic survey of all the assessors to find out staffing levels,
Yes.
budget?
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
Yes,
they have
there-
presidents that have done questionnaires, and one I'm sure I've shared with you from 2016. There was a more recent one that was done. Um, I'm not sure if that got into the level of staffing, because that's a big thing with all, you know, it's tough to compare our budget to other departments' budgets in other cities because there's so many different comparisons. And then how much are they doing in-house as opposed to how much is being done by a consultant?
mhm.
But
And so it's-
again, I mean, we could spend time doing all that, but I don't think we should need to. Ginny is the one who told us about all this unknown apartments. So just saying, we need another clerk so we can go find all the apartments you told us about. She should be all in.
Right.
No, that isn't my point. I'm, how does our budget and our staffing and full-time equivalents compare to other cities of comparable size, comparable income, comparable number of units and so forth?
Wait, you did that analysis last year.
It was incomplete at best, and that's why I'm asking about, and does MAAO do that? And if they don't, or if they do, I don't think I've ever seen
And
that.
what I meant is they provide that survey data that Randy was talking about.
I haven't seen, okay, that, if they provide it,
Some of it does pertain, but you know, it doesn't give you really to get the information that you're looking for, Jim. I think that you'd have to actually call and talk to somebody at different towns, you know, to see, hey, what's their staffing level? How many people do they have? You know, how much, what's been being done in-house as opposed to what's, you know, done by a consultant.
yeah.
So,
Well,
you know, I'm thinking, I think Belchertown has quite a few people. I know when I was in West Springfield, we had a staff of 4, and I
Uh-huh.
really felt we needed another person, you know?
Well, I was just thinking, that would be a service to all the assessors and the right party to do that survey. Just the survey, not the analysis of who's comparable to whom, but just the survey would be MAAO. But I'll, if you think they've done such a survey, I'd love to see it. And I'll also take a look on the site and maybe write to Kathleen or someone so that they can refer me to it. So
Yeah.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah, really, it does sound, actually, that's what I was gonna suggest. Let's talk to Kathleen
Yeah.
Costello, and just explain to her, you know, hey, I know that you did a recent survey. She could provide you with that information. It wasn't as comprehensive as the one from 2016, and I
Uh-huh.
was trying to rattle cages at the time and say, hey, what about these factors and this and that?
Yep.
Doesn't have as many questions as the last one, but you know, we did what we could. And so
Yep.
this could be another approach to take. Hey, we're looking to find out about staffing. What do you think about, you know, see if you could
Right.
get her to buy into the idea of a different type of survey.
Yep, okay. All right, well, I'll write to Kathleen and I'll take care of that. I'll let you guys know what goes on. Okay, and educational outreach, the Ask an Assessor night. How'd it go?
Well, you know, we had a few people. Really only just a couple of residents with questions randomly, and then there were other people that expected there to be some type of presentation that we were going to do. You know, we had Stephanie attended, and so did her mom, and Al Norman was there. There was another member from the public that seemed to have an opinion that only 30% of building permits were were taken out when something needed to be done. But we did what we could to stress the property record card and fielded all questions that we had and clarified a couple things for different people. So I think it was a decent effort, but I think that we need to continue to develop from the classwork, a shorter, sweeter presentation that was more directly tailored to the property record card and the basics of your property.
Okay. And then I think, scheduling another one that precedes the council meeting, we ought to line that up, but I think we ought to make sure that we have a lot of publicity for it as well. But we don't have, do we have any idea when we'd want to do that?
Well, we could look in the calendar what the next meetings are, but you're reminding me, Matt still hasn't added the abatement page to, there's been no additions or changes to our website since the last update. The last update was wonderful, but he hasn't finished. He hasn't added the abatement page. I think there's a few other things he just hadn't finished doing. So I know he's part-time and whatnot now, but it would be great if he would do that.
Can you follow up with him?
Okay.
I have a relatively good rapport with him if you'd like.
What's that?
I have a relatively good.
Then you
rapport
do
with
it.
him if you'd like me to
Oh,
follow
that'd be
up.
wonderful.
What specifically would you like him? You said the abatement, so the link to, like, if somebody were
We
to,
have to create a page.
okay, is it a link that if you click it, you could file the abatement electronically?
No, I mean, that would be great, but no, just here, let me just show you,
Okay,
since, why not?
sure.
But if you just go to the city's website and let me share. Let's see. If you go to the city's webpage, Matt did a really wonderful job making these links up here. So like, for example, this individual exemption, he made this beautiful page which has for each exemption and includes the application and whatnot.
Okay.
So he did a real good job as we requested. But this isn't the full, there were more things than this that we asked him to do.
Mhm.
One of them was abatements. If you want to file an abatement application right now, you still have to scroll. And it's not in any of these, it's hidden in here. And then in here even, it's further hidden. And there it is. So we asked him to make a page where it would just like these other ones, have a little paragraph. Like this one, hey, you can file an abatement if you want. And then it would just have, again, with these, it would have, what is the application guide. So
Gotcha. So including abatements in that little tap down, same thing, abatement,
Yeah.
abatement guide.
he has a full list of everything we asked him to do. That's just the one that was most obvious to me, especially here in abatement season. But he knows what he needs to do. It's just a little, just poke him in the back and say, hey, don't forget us.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Okay, and
When he finishes it.
that takes care of the agenda, but let's open public comment. So Stephanie has a
Move
chance.
we open public comment.
I second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
There she goes off mute.
There we are. Stephanie. Yes, Stephanie, we haven't heard you. Can't hear you. And you're not on mute. You want to send us a chat letting us know what's going on?
I'm just asking her.
Oh.
Hello, are you waiting for me? I'm sorry, I'd step
No.
away and back.
Oh, no, she's having computer problems
Yeah.
problems
Stephanie,
again.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Stephanie. Next time, or if you want, you could just type it in the chat and I'll read it. She does have a question.
good.
She's a pretty fast typist too.
Fantastic.
Ooh, Jimmy just joined. Jimmy. I don't know. Jimmy, do you have a
Jimmy-
public comment?
Jimmy Keno,
Hello,
Stephanie's partner.
Oh, that's
There.
Ryan.
Yeah.
it's Stephanie Duclos, Chapman Street. I did attend the educational outreach meeting. That was, I did get some information that I wanted to ask a question about because you guys did have the pilot information on the agenda. And my concern is when Randy said it was like $294 million of valuation we can't capture. At our tax rate, that's a pretty significant number. It funds several
yeah.
departments in total.
It's-
So I really think that it's something that we really should be looking at. We have nonprofits buying up all kinds of property in
Good.
in Greenfield. And it just shifts the burden back to the taxpayer. So that's my real concern. And I'm sorry about the whole mic issue. I don't know why my computer's not
Yeah.
communicating, but I haven't had a cell phone for a week and a half, and
Oh.
it's been quite an adventure. Trying to
Stephanie,
keep up.
nonprofits are not taxable according to state law.
Well, part of what she's saying is, Al Norman was asking me for the total number of exempt properties. So yeah, that 254 million or whatever that number was, that's also all of the city-owned properties. So,
Okay.
it's not all of that isn't just places that are ones that we're concerned about. There was one of these in particular, and I had a council member asking me about it. And yeah, they've got about $6 million worth of value and about, 11 to 13 properties that they own. And that's a pretty big footprint. And then when they are buying these residential houses, it just seems like it's some kind of, it seems like there should be some type of regulation, or it just shouldn't be just willy-nilly, let's buy anything anywhere, any neighborhood, and we're setting up our service in that. So I don't know what the answer is, but it has gotten some attention recently. And yeah, I think in some cases it's significant, these places, that buy up all this real estate, and, yes, they're providing services, or it's outpatient or whatever it is, I'm not sure that there shouldn't be some type of guidelines that they go by, and it shouldn't just be, oh, we willy-nilly buy whatever we want, wherever we want, and it becomes exempt.
Yeah. And this speaks to the pilot issue, which is, when nonprofits do that, they're taking stuff off the rolls and placing the burden on the rest of the populace. And without a pilot agreement, they're not offsetting that. So I think it's useful to have the information, and this goes back to the exempt stuff, the exempt analysis I did that I'll put on, I'll send again to Adam so he can put it up on the drive.
Yeah, the analysis you did.
Huh?
The
Yeah.
analysis you did.
Yeah. And then we'll break it down. I'm pretty sure that had a pretty reasonable breakdown between what was city-owned property versus the nonprofits, and the nonprofits by type and size. So we'll revisit that. But yeah, Stephanie, it is a big loss. I think that kind of comes with the territory, and about the only way you can offset this is by having a pilot program or a pilot like program in place where they commit to making a contribution. And then I think one of the things you can do is you can publish the list of people that have the exempt properties, or organizations that have the exempt properties, how much they're valued at, what taxes would be, and what they've contributed, as Boston does. Anything else?
Yeah,
There.
just wanted to add to that was just living in a neighborhood where I'm surrounded by nonprofits, the amount that I see our public safety responding and the cost to our city is of real concern.
Yep.
When I did some investigating on some particular properties, I did find that, one particular nonprofit had over 468 response calls in less than 2 years. And so that to me seems like it's a pretty significant impact on the resources that we, the individual taxpayers are supplementing to these nonprofits who come in and buy up all the property, but don't seem to have to contribute to our tax roll. So I really think that, it's something that we really truly need to address if we're going to get, this, if we want to, become fiscally more responsible in the city and stabilize our tax rates and such. So that was just my thought, and thank you so much for addressing it. I know that the information that Randy provided was really, really informative to, regarding the property card. He did hand out flyers and it showed you a bunch of information, and it made it, maybe if we can figure out how to get more information out to the taxpayers and how to access their own tax property cards and what that information actually means and translates to, and another tip, keep driving down Chapman. Because there's another piece of property that just exchanged hands. I think it'll be off your radar for, probably the month as they're doing a full reno of that place as well, down on towards the end of Chapman. I know it did exchange. I did not see a visible business. I mean, a building permit, and they were doing exterior work as well as interior work, and not sure if it's a conversion or what they're doing, but might be a question that someone might want to ask, because that house had been vacant for many, many, many years, and it may be very low on our tax rolls, but they're doing pretty significant work daily. And if it doesn't come back as somebody needs to go out and inspect and say, hey, you did $100,000 worth of renovations in here. Maybe we're not capturing the correct valuation on this property now. And I just wanted to add that. Thanks. And
Sorry, Stephanie, you can see I'm sharing. Jim, I don't know if this is the right.
Yeah, this is what I did.
So you can see I'm sharing a kind of basic analysis of these exempt.
Now, all of this assumes that the total value, is correct. And when you look at GCC with a value of 138K.
It's probably wrong.
It's probably wrong. Yeah, but, I think a lot of these are questionable, but some of them, you just aren't going to get anything. I mean, the city, Mass, Franklin County, those governmental organizations, they don't pay. That's the way it is. Also, we have the USA, which is the post office, I believe. Post office and maybe something else. But in any event, there really isn't a lot of taxes that we could get from these people, assuming that the valuations are correct. And that is probably a big assumption. But I don't think that prevents us from tapping these people to make a contribution to the elderly and disabled fund, so that we don't ask
we have-
taxpayers to do that.
We have talked about this a number of times, and I believe the last time we talked about this, we considered that the cost of having the city attorney
Do the pilots.
work on the actual agreements, even if any of these organizations were willing to give us money out of the sweetness of their hearts, that the cost of the city attorney to even work out those agreements with them would exceed the amount of money we could get.
Yeah, so a pilot agreement per se is not one that we ought to pursue, but there may be some way of twisting their arms to make a contribution to this particular fund, whose financial needs I don't know are going to be,
The widows and children's
yeah,
fund.
the widow, elderly.
Elderly and children, yeah.
Yeah, disabled.
So, I mean, it's on our radar, Stephanie, but
Thanks. But that reminds me, the property record card write-up that actually came from Nashua, New Hampshire. Is that on our website? I think that ought to be on the website and,
let me check.
yeah. So maybe, Adam, you could talk to Matt about mounting that document.
Which document?
The 3-pager that had the
Oh, the
1 through
explanation about the,
46.
property card.
Right, yeah,
I'd like to potentially link that to the website as an accessible document.
yeah.
Yeah, right now it doesn't. In fact, if you click the property records, it just takes you straight to the GIS,
System.
which is not a horrible thing, but in terms of interpreting the record cards and even where to find them on the GIS, that's still an open issue.
Okay. All right, well, I think that's it. Stephanie, anything else or are we done? Need to go into executive
No, she had
session?
to step out. She went to work, guys. Sorry. It's Ryan Whitney. Same
Yeah, sure.
address. All right.
Okay, thanks,
Thanks,
Ryan.
guys. Bye.
Okay,
Move,
we'll see you.
move, we close public comment.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So
I move we go into executive session.
I second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, you want to stop the recording?
yep.